Okay, let's take a quick look at Gantt charts. One thing you should know is that Gantt chart is related to project management, right? So this is something that the project manager prepares, right? And just like PERT charts, it includes the different activities that are going to take place, right? And it also shows the dependencies, right? For example, activity 2 cannot start until activity 1 has finished. Activity 3 cannot start until activity 2 has finished, right? So those dependencies can also be shown on Gantt charts. Let's take a look at how we are going to draw a Gantt chart. For example, let's take a look at this table, which says that the project is going to start on the 12th of June. The first task is task 1, okay, and task 1 is going to take 2 days. It's going to take 2 days, and it does not have any predecessor tasks, which means, you know, there is no other task taking place before task 1, right? So task 1 basically, because task 1 is the first task and it can start on the 12th of June, and this task is 2 days long. As we can see here, that task 1 begins on the 12th of June and it takes 2 days to finish. After task 1 comes task 2, and task 2 has this predecessor task. Means what? This means that task 2 can only start when task 1 has finished, right? So task 2 can only start once task 1 has finished, and task 2 is going to take 3 days. And we can see here that task 2 is starting when task 1 has completed, and it's going to take 3 more days. So basically you can say that task 2 is dependent on task 1. Task 2 is going to start once task 1 is complete. Then we can see that task 3 is dependent on task 2. So when task 2 finishes, then task 3 can start, and task 3 is going to take 4 days. And we can see here that task 3 starts at the end of task 2, right, and it goes on for 4 days. Then comes task 4, and task 4 is dependent on task 3, okay, and it's going to take 1 day. So once task 3 finishes, then task 4 can start, and it's going to last for 1 day. Okay, so task 4, it starts when task 3 is complete, right, and it lasts for 1 day. We can see here that task 5 is also dependent on task 3, and we can see that task 5 is not dependent on task 4, it is only dependent on task 3, which means as soon as task 3 stops, task 5 can start, and its duration is 2 days. So task 5 can also start when task 3 ends, right, and this is going to take 2 days. So what you can see here is that task 4 and task 5 can go on in parallel, right? They can go on at the same time. As soon as task 3 is complete, task 4 and task 5 can be started at the same time. Then comes task 6, and task 6 is dependent on task 5. So once task 5 is complete, then task 6 can start, and it takes 2 days. So we can see here that task 6 starts at the completion of task 5, and it takes 2 days, right? Then task 7 is dependent on activity 4 and activity 6, right? So after activity 4 has finished, and also after activity 6 has finished, only after that can we start task 7, right? And task 7 is going to take 4 days. So task 7, must start after activity 4 has finished, but activity 4 we can see finished here, right? So no worries about activity 4, but task 7 can also not be started until activity 6 has been completed, right? So activity 6 is getting completed here. So as soon as activity 6 gets completed, we are going to start task 7, and this is going to take 4 days, right? Then we can see that activity 8 can be started as soon as task 3 is over, and this is going to take 3 days. So activity 8 can be started as soon as task 3 is over, and this is task 3, right? And this is where it finishes. So as soon as task 3 is over, right? So this is probably the line, right? And this is where task 8 can be started, and it's going to take 1 day. Okay, so what we have understood is the relationship between activities, and this shows how long a particular activity is going to take, and it also shows when will this project end. This project will end here, right? So this is the last activity, and which is what? This is the 28th day. So this project is going to take 28 days to complete. 28 days to complete.